Okay, so today we're spending another day of solving one-step equations, and so we're going to focus on mixing it up a little bit, so it's not just here's addition, here's subtraction, here's multiplication, here's division. So remember, like we talked yesterday, to solve for a variable, we're going to isolate that variable by using what we call inverse operations. So if you see addition, the inverse of addition is to subtract, and vice versa. Subtract is addition, and the inverse of multiplication is to divide. Or if I see division, then I multiply. So inverse operations means it goes either way. So I'm just going to mix it up and practice a mixture of problems. Number one, to get z by itself, right now I'm adding 6. The inverse of adding 6 of addition is subtract by 6. And what I do to one side, I do to the other. So if you notice, these 6's cancel here, or they equal 0 because 6 minus 6 is 0. So I have z equals 10 minus 6 is 4. Number two, this is multiplication. The inverse of multiplying is to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8, where these 8 simplify to 1. So I have y equals 48 divided by 8 is positive 6. Number three, this is subtraction. The inverse of subtracting is to add. So I'm going to add 12 to both sides. So these negative 12 plus 12 is 0, so they cancel, equals 1 plus 12, which is positive 13. Number four, this is division, and the inverse of dividing is to multiply. So I'm going to multiply by 2 to both sides. Since these 2's cancel, because one's in the numerator, one's in the denominator, not cancel, but necessarily divide by 1. So a equals 18 times 2 is 36. Number five, again, another division problem. So the inverse of dividing is to multiply by 3. So these 3's cancel, and r equals 7 times 3, which is 21. Number six, I see subtraction. The inverse of subtracting is to add. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides, where these 4's equal 0. So m equals 11 plus 4, which is 15. Number seven, I see subtraction, so the inverse of subtracting is to add. So I'm going to add 19 to both sides, where these negative 19 and positive 19 make 0. So t equals 2 plus 19 is 21. 8 is a little tricky, but not necessarily hard. All I need to do is figure out how to move the 1 over. So I look at what the sign is. Since it's a positive 1, to cancel out a positive 1 is to subtract 1 to both sides, so that these end up being 0, and s equals 3 minus 1, which is 2. Number 9, I see subtraction, and the inverse of subtracting is to add 10 to both sides. So y, where these negative 10, positive 10 make 0, negative 5 plus 10 makes positive 5. Okay, number 10, I see division, and so I'm going to do the inverse, which is multiply, and I'm going to multiply by negative 4 because I want to take care of that sign. So I'm going to multiply by negative 4 to both sides, where those negative 4's cancel there, and I have s equals negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. So watch your signs. Number 11, I see multiplication, and the inverse of multiplying is to divide by negative 18. And at first you think there's a typo, but there's not. These negative 18's simplify to 1, so I have w equals. Now 2 divided by negative 18 doesn't make a pretty whole number. So if I look at my calculator, 2 divided by negative 18 makes a repeating decimal. So we can leave it like a decimal, so my answer would be negative 0.1 repeating, okay? Or I can type it in like a fraction, 2 over negative 18, and it simplifies it to negative 1/9. So either answer. You can leave it as a decimal or change it to a fraction. Number 12, since I see subtraction, the inverse of that is to add 7 to both sides, where q, these 7's cancel, equals negative 14 plus 7, which is negative 7. A few more. Number 13, so I want to move the 12 over to get u by itself. So the inverse, so to take care of a positive 12, I'm going to subtract 12 to both sides. So these 12's equal 0, and u equals negative 2 minus 12. So if you're not good with your negatives, make sure you do negative 2 minus 12 actually equals negative 14. So watch your signs there. Number 14, the inverse of multiplying by 7 is to divide by 7. So 54 divided by 7 is 9, equals these 7's cancel, equals a. Number 15, to move the 10 over, since this is a positive 10, I'm going to subtract 10 to both sides. So these 10s equal 0, and z equals negative 26 minus 10. So again, be careful, because it's actually negative 36. The inverse of dividing by 4 is to multiply by 4. So these 4's cancel, where n equals 13 times 4, which is, let's see, it's 52. So there's a mixture of problems where it's adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing, like you're going to see on your assignment.